Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite Dr. Usu Jr. and I'm back again with another episode of Weird Medical Facts. In this episode, I'll be telling you a very chilling story. A story that scarred generations yet unborn. A story of silence, suffering, and the birth of medical ethics. So the year was 1932. America was drowning in the Great Depression. Jobs were gone, banks had collapsed, families had to queue in line for common bread and soup to survive. In the segregated South, poor black communities suffered the most. Healthcare was an issue, and even the cost of burial of a dead relative became a burden on the families. But then in Macon County, Alabama, the United States Public Health Department partnered with the Tuskegee Institute on a medical program. They enrolled black men into a study, enticed them with freebies like free medical care, free meals, and then burial insurance. They were told that they had just bad blood, a vague statement that could mean anything. They were not told that they were being recruited in a syphilis study. 399 black men with syphilis and then 201 without syphilis, being as control, were recruited into this program. The goal was not to cure them. The goal was simple: to watch the natural progression of syphilis on a live human being without their consent. They literally wanted to watch them suffer and die. You know, syphilis doesn't cure easily and it takes time. It invades your cells, destroying your nerves, your muscles, your bones. And over years and decades, you develop dementia, paralysis, deafness, blindness, heart failure, and eventual death. The most devastating part is that the doctors already knew what would happen if syphilis was untreated, because even as far back as in the 1930s, publications were already out there stating how syphilis causes madness, blindness, deafness, and so on and so forth. So I sat back and asked myself, what exactly were they still looking for? Treatment was still withheld. Painful spinal taps were described to them as special treatment, but it was not treatment. It was just taking their samples to see if the syphilis had spread into the central nervous system. And even when penicillin became the proven cure in 1947, treating and curing people worldwide, they still withheld treatment. Those who wanted to get treatment outside that county, doctors were told not to treat them. How heartless could they be? The suffering spread beyond the men. Their innocent wives and children became infected. The children were born what we call congenital syphilis, represents with blindness, a lot of lesions on the skin, several deformities of the bone and face, as well as intellectual disability later in life. This was no longer an experiment. It was a well-orchestrated legacy of suffering designed to outlive the victims and scar generations yet unborn. But you see, unsurprisingly, not a single white man was recruited in this study, even though the economic devastation of the Great Depression left all people of all races vulnerable to the same manipulation and exploitations they used on the black men. This was not random. It was a calculated and intentional government-run study that targeted black men on a national scale by an institution entrusted with protecting public health. So for 40 long years, the suffering continued in silence until 1972, when a public health worker, Peter Baxton, exposed the truth to the press. Kudos to him. Only then was the study halted, not because the conscience